Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. My name is Joshua, and today we're going to be talking about the Great British Baking Show. Now, if you've been online for the last few weeks, you've probably seen things like this. And as someone who is of Mexican flavoring, I decided to watch the episode and see what all the fuss is about. So I did, and instead of making any kind of knee-jerk reaction to it, either via Twitter, TikTok, or coming on here and making a video, I decided I'd watch the episode a few more times and really kind of gather my thoughts about it. So that's what I did, and that's what we're going to do here today. And just to make sure that my thoughts come across a little more clear and concise, I decided to break it down into a couple different sections. And those are jokes, stereotypes and phrases, pronunciation, miscellaneous, which is kind of where I go over what particular people did or maybe didn't do, and lastly, crimes against nature. Now, I just want to say that these are my opinions on the episode and my opinions alone. Just like with any group of people, we as Mexicans are not a monolith, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Now, lastly, before we get started, I just want to say, if you like what I do, consider hitting the thumbs up and subscribing. It's free, it's easy, and it really helps out a small creator like myself. Thank you. I love you. Hey guys, Editing Josh here. Just wanted to stop by before the video goes any further and say that in order to stop Netflix from putting a hit out on me and my channel, I decided to complete this video using still images and as little footage as possible. So if it's a little wonky or maybe hard to follow, I apologize, but I wanted to try and get my thoughts and opinions out on this video anyway, so I hope you can still enjoy it. Now, the episode doesn't start off on a great foot with this joke. Now, I am not offended by this joke in and of itself. It's a play on words, it's kind of a cringy dad joke, and there's nothing inherently derogatory or offensive about the joke in and of itself. But when you change the context of the joke, then it becomes offensive. For example, if I go to someone's house and they're not of Mexican or Hispanic or other Latino descent, and their father comes out and wants to break the ice and decides to make that joke to me, I'm probably going to laugh and humor him, but yeah, it's kind of cringy. It's a cringy dad joke. But you change the context and say he comes out wearing a serape and a sombrero and tells me that joke, then I would be offended. Next joke. Now, I don't find this offensive because, well, first off, I'd be a hypocrite if I did, because I tend to make this kind of joke about other countries. For example, if a friend of mine decides to go to Finland on vacation, I'll just laugh and say something like, oh yeah, Finland. Can't go to Finland, that's not a real place. But even in that example, the butt of the joke isn't Finland, it's me for being too stupid to realize that, yes, Finland is in fact a real place. This joke is very similar. There's nothing inherently derogatory or insulting about Mexico or Mexican people in the joke. As a matter of fact, the butt of the joke is Noel and Matt for even assuming that Mexico isn't a real place. Also, it reminds me of this Simpsons joke.
There's no such thing as a soul. It's just something they made up to scare kids, like the Boogeyman or Michael Jackson.
And if you were to come to me and ask me to weigh the offensiveness between these two jokes, I would probably say the Simpsons joke is more offensive because it makes the individual, in this case Michael Jackson, the butt of the joke. And that's where I feel a joke becomes offensive, whenever the butt of the joke is the person or thing that you're referencing and not you as the joke teller. Next joke. Okay, first off, big shout out to Abdul for correcting Matt Lucas about what Day of the Dead actually is. Now, I do find this offensive, mainly because the contestants have done research to get on this show, and they have a heads up on the themes for each week, which also leads me to assume that the host and writers have a heads up about the themes for each week. And if they do, that means Matt Lucas and the writers did do research, and I would bet my life that in the research they came across something about Dia de los Muertos. And if all that's true, then this joke was basically just made or improv out of willful ignorance. Now, the next two sections are the biggest of this video, so I'll try and get through them as fast as possible. Okay, this just comes off as like an erasure of Mexican cuisine, so that sucks. Now, by her own words, Carol said she did research. So, again, this just comes off as like willful ignorance. There's this weird stereotype that was kind of perpetuated in this episode, which is spicy equals Mexican. And it seems like some contestants took like a non-Mexican or vaguely Mexican dish, made it spicy, and then boom, all of a sudden it's Mexican. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this. Just don't fucking do that. Again, the stereotype of the mustache, like we're all fucking Frito Bandito over here. Now, Sandro had to do research for this show. And if he did, and he came across some form of Mexican history, and came across something about Emiliano Zapata, and decided to make this cake as an homage to Zapata, I wouldn't have an issue with it. Now, Mexican standoff is kind of a weird phrase. Some people might find it offensive. I personally don't. It's an old phrase that might be offensive to some people due to its origins kind of being used to describe interactions that Americans may have had with Mexican banditos post Mexican-American War. So there's a weird kind of connotation to it that might offend some people. Personally, it doesn't offend me.
Mexicano. What's pico de gallo?
Pico de Gallo. Interesting. Pico de Gallo. This is the first time I've heard them.
Okay, this is irritating. Some of these folks are just adding extra letters and syllables to it, even though they're all grown adults who can, by all assumptions, read, and it's right there in front of them. Now, I'm not going to be too riled up about the mispronunciation of tortillas, because there's people in this country that can't pronounce that word correctly, so I'm not that worried about it.
Including Bezos, a romantic little number.
Ugh, this, specifically Noel, pronouncing this word, meaning kiss like the last name of Amazon's head overcompensator, just kind of breaks my heart.
I love a nachos night.
Love a nacho.
Tacos. Tacos.
Tacos.
Your tacos.
Okay, guys, look, it's not that hard. This is Adele. You can say her name, right? Adele. Adele. Now, just take the beginning sound of her name and add it to the A in both of those words. Adele. Ta-go. Adele. Nacho. It's not that hard.
Where to put the Glocky Molo?
Oh, God. Again, a room full of grown adults just consistently mispronouncing a word with it fucking written down on paper in front of them. Just fucking sound it out phonetically. It's not that hard.
Mexicano.
Okay, first off, big shout out to Dawn wearing the Mexican embroidery. I see you, girl. Next, Maxie. Not only was she Star Baker, but she fucking nailed the pronunciation of Bella Naranja.
Bella naranja.
Now, Kevin. Again, they've researched the themes that they're given. And Kevin decided to do an Aztec temple, yet when he was asked to specify if the temple was Aztec or Mayan, he said, well, there's a bit of overlap now, isn't there? Which, like, no, those civilizations aren't close at all. Which means either he did the research and the statement is from willful ignorance, or his research was something to the effect of, what's Mexican? Aztecs. Aztecs are Mexican. Google's Aztecs, sees pyramids. Cool. I'll do that as a cake. Closes Google. Now, Carol. Carol rubbed me the wrong way the entire episode. The gross mispronunciation of words is just written down in front of her, and the kind of generalization of Mexican cuisine, regardless of whatever research she may or may not have done, just made me feel like she was really dismissive of this whole week and its theme. And our last section.
Mexicano.
May God have mercy on us all. Now, overall, do I find this episode offensive? Yeah, I do. Now, while I don't believe it was malicious in any way, the Brits have an issue with tone deafness in regards to other cultures, and with the amount of prep work that goes into the show by contestants, producers, the crew, the hosts, etc., some of the choices that are made here are just kind of inexcusable. But what bothers me more is that knowing their propensity for cultural ignorance and the casual nature of said tone deafness that some British people of color have been speaking about for ages, is that if that was the stuff that made it to air, what was cut? And that's all I have for today's video. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing, and if you do subscribe, consider hitting the notification bell. That way you can be notified anytime my face is ready to grace your screen with yet another video. If you'd like to support me, please consider becoming a patron or donating to my Ko-fi, both of which are linked in the description box below. If you want to follow me on social media, those are all right here. Other than that, that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!